have initiated that. All right, there we go. So first of all, I just want to take this opportunity to thank John and his team for giving us their time to deliver this presentation. So on behalf of the community, John, thank you very much.
No, thank you all. We definitely like talking to customers and appreciate you taking some time out of your day to join this call. So as Isam mentioned, I'm John Kay. I'm the program manager for Microsoft Forms. I've been at Microsoft for about 13 or so years, and on the Forms team, I'm responsible for a variety of areas, one of which is education. So that's my Twitter there on the page. In fact, a lot of you have reached out to me in the past, and that's actually how we set up this webinar in the first place. And yeah, as I mentioned, we love talking to customers. In fact, that's how we decide, if we're working on the right things and decide what we should do next to make the product even better for you. So there are some others from my team that are also on the call. We have a few other program managers as well as developers. And so whenever folks have questions, we all will be here to answer them. Since we don't have access to the chat, I would say please just go ahead and use the hand raise function if you need to ask any questions. And really today I'm just going to be giving a brief overview of Forms, show you some of the new features that we've released, and then talk a little bit about what we're working on. And we do want to save some time at the end to answer more questions as needed. So Forms does cover many areas and many different scenarios. You can easily create surveys, quizzes, as well as polls to collect the information you need and make better decisions using data. And when it comes to EDU specifically, our primary mission is really to save you time. We want you to be able to teach effectively and ultimately improve your students' learning outcomes. There's a variety of question types. There's the standard ones, such as multiple choice, text, rating, and there's also lots of great ones hidden in that dropdown. So one that I know is used often in EDU is file upload. So you can ask responders to do something like upload a file. Maybe you want the students to upload a Word document, like an essay. And one great time saver is when it comes to grading. And so especially in EDU where people build a lot of quizzes, you can set which answers are correct, and Microsoft Forms is actually going to auto grade it for you. You can also put in automatic feedback that the students will get when they answer with that particular answer. And of course, if you need to, you can come back in afterwards. You can do manual grading, partial credit, extra credit, add more comments, whatever's needed for you. And we already started talking about this before the call started, but we're really always looking to make Forms into a smarter tool. We want to maximize the time savings for you and also maximize the impact, how well you can collect data and actually get insights from that data. So we're always adding more intelligence. One that really resonates a lot with educators is math intelligence. So Forms can understand that you're putting in a math question. It can suggest answers as well as suggest follow-up questions. So you can build a math quiz pretty quickly. And you may not be a math teacher, but intelligence is sprinkled throughout the product regardless. Forms will suggest themes. It'll suggest the amount of time required to fill out the form. It recommends recommends questions from your previous forms, options, so you can quickly create questions. And it has all sorts of intelligent insights at the end, so you can get more out of your data. And we're constantly adding more here. So this is an area where we love feedback. And we know you love to customize your forms, so you can make your form look great. You can change the theme, the background image, the colors. You can even add a custom thank you message after people submit the form. And it works everywhere. Doesn't matter if people are using a mobile, tablet, computer. Forms is going to work great in all locations. Easy to distribute. You could send it out as a link, a QR code, put it in an email. You could even embed it inside a web page. And Forms can definitely be used as a standalone product, but we also have been spending a lot of time to make sure to integrate it into more and more places. And the real goal is to let you collect data and use Forms wherever you need to, like for whatever your scenario is. For example, in education, we do hear a lot of people use OneNote, like a class notebook. And you could put a lot of information in that notebook and then embed a form like directly into the page. You can do the same type of thing in Sway or PowerPoint. Teams is a really big one. and I'll show you a little bit further in the deck. You can put a form poll into a chat, into a meeting. You can put a form into a tab, and you can also use what's called Teams assignments, which lets you easily distribute your quizzes to your class and really facilitates the distribution and the grading flow. And also you can create a special kind of form from from OneDrive or SharePoint. And if you do that, it's going to create your form in a special online way so that the new responses will actually go to an online Excel file. So if you're someone who likes to do deep analysis with Excel, you don't need to download a fresh copy of the Excel each time. Each response will just sync automatically to the Excel online. Teams assignments, I'll be showing this a little bit later in the demo as well, but this is just a way that's very popular in education space to, as I said, distribute your quizzes and facilitate the grading workflow. And so within the education version of Teams, you have an assignments app, and you can create a quiz assignment, and you can either pick an existing one or create a new one. You can select which students need to get it, when it's due. And then it's really easy to do the stuff after students start turning it in. So you can see how many people have turned it in, which ones need grading, and you can easily go into the grading flow and go student by student or question by question. And again, you can give partial credit, extra credit, comments if needed, and then post it right back to the student. So just a really smooth end-to-end to use quizzes from Teams. Now, one thing that we do like to mention is just really the breadth or the variety where we hear forms used in education. And this isn't meant to be a full list. There's a lot of text on this page, but really we like to think of the education journey as a whole. So sometimes we break it down into time periods. For example, before the school year, during the school year, at the end. And during each one, we hear from people, different scenarios that you need to accomplish. Some which are more suitable for forms, some which are more suitable for quizzes. For example, like before the semester starts, maybe you need to use forms for class registrations or demographic collections. But during the year, you want to use them for teaching. You want to make sure students understand the material before you move on to another topic. Obviously, you have a lot of assessment scenarios, pop quizzes, unit tests, exams. And exit tickets is one of our favorites that we hear in EDU. A lot of teachers talk to us about this one. So, before people started using forms, in the past, we would hear teachers get to the end of a class or unit, and they would ask the class, hey, did you understand everything? Please raise your hand or speak out if you didn't. But a lot of people are too shy. They don't want to feel like they're the only one who didn't understand. But you can use forms now instead. So if you use forms for your exit tickets, we hear from a lot of teachers that students are much more outspoken in what they didn't understand and feedback for the class. And then the teacher can use that to act on it and modify their lesson the next day, reteach whatever was not understood. And obviously at the end of the semester or school year, again, you might have some final exams, some feedback evaluations, stuff that you're going to feed back into your next unit or your next semester, so you can teach differently. So this is probably why most of you joined today, to see what's new and what's coming soon. So I'll first briefly mention some of these things, and then I'm going to actually flip over to the product and demo a lot of these live. So one that recently, or all of these on the page, they're 100% rolled out, with the exception of one that says coming soon. So we did recently release short URL, so it makes the distribution link for the forms much, much smaller than it was in the past. Poll and Teams meetings, that's the top picture here. So you can actually drop a poll in a meeting to really engage your audience, and it pops up in their face, just like it's shown there in the picture. We've heard from a lot of you that that's great, but you need it in channel meetings because in EDU, a lot of channel meetings are used. I think even this one is channel meeting. And so that is something that's coming soon in the next few months. Downloading of what we call response receipt after you submit a form. That's something new, and it even works for anonymous forms. Specific user sharing for response collection that allows you to specify specific users or groups that you want to be able to respond to a form, and everyone else is going to be blocked. A new Office.com start page where you really start your forms experience. Immersive Reader, we did more work to bring this to every form. And some that we've had now for probably about 6 or so months, but they're always worth mentioning. The ability to print a blank form or quiz, setting custom start and end times even down to the specific minute. You can set half points now instead of full points for your questions and quizzes. And also file upload. That was the question type I mentioned earlier. That's now also supported if you do a quiz in Teams assignments. A feature that's rolling out, it's already started rolling out, but it'll roll out further over May timeframe, is text formatting. So we're going to give you a lot more options to customize the text on the form to really, in many cases, draw attention to certain words or make it look the way that you need it to look for your needs. Two more that are in development. One is making it a lot clearer when you want to send out a form to collect responses versus collaborate on a form with one of your peers. So splitting those into separate buttons. And also a big one that many of you ask for is form organization. So we're not yet ready to share images on this one, but you could think of it as like collections of forms, letting you organize your forms and interact with them the way that you want to interact with them. So stay tuned for more information on that one. All right, so now we're going to spend some time on the demo. So let me go ahead and flip over to here. All right. So first we'll start out, we have here what's known as the new forms start page. So hopefully most of you have seen this already. It's a little bit different than the old experience. This one lets you flip between lists and tiles. This first page is all of your recent and probably most relevant forms and quizzes. You can also pin ones that you need to. You can go through more. We also have what's called all my forms if you want to get to some older ones, stuff you've done in the past. And we've received a lot of feedback from folks. And so two things that we added recently was the search bar. This was something that was there in the old experience, was missing when we first rolled out this one. And so that search bar is back, lets you easily basically filter down your list of forms to exactly what you want. For example, I recently have one for further education community. So boom, I type in FE and there's that first one. Another piece of feedback that we heard from people is the ability to copy a form, or what's called duplicate or clone a form. That was hard to find. And so we brought that back into the ... on this first page. So on your Office.com start page, yours is going to say new quiz, and then in the drop-down new form, because you're in an education tenant. Mine is flipped because I am not. So we're going to go ahead and just do new quiz. And I'm going to cheat and jump over to our internal environment so I can show you some things that aren't quite released. All right, so this is just a new quiz. And so I'm going to say, FE demo. And let's say, this is a very important quiz. It's worth 1/3 of your semester grade. Be careful. All right, so now you can do stuff like this. So a teacher might want to really draw attention to this one and might really want to say, I want to underline and, make sure that this, draw attention to the words you need when you need to. I've also heard from a lot of educators that when it comes to standardized testing, also there's some requirements to format text in specific ways. So now you can actually do that. So that is text formatting, and you can see there's other options there as well. There's color, there's size, there's numbering and bullets. So a lot of great stuff for you. So let's go ahead and add a question. So again, there's lots of question types. There's others in the drop down, like file upload that I mentioned. So we'll go ahead and let's show you that math intelligence. That one's normally pretty cool. So if you want to do math intelligence, I just added a multiple choice question. And it's really easy. I just go ... switch it over to math. And I could say something like solve for X. And there's a little equation editor here. I could put in some basic algebra, for example. And Forms is going to detect, hey, that looks like math. Here's a bunch of answers you might want to add, and this is the correct answer. So boom, I put it in and my question is ready. Let's make this one worth 1.5, which we can do now because now we support half points. When I go ahead and try to add another question, it says, hey, you're probably doing math. Here's some extra ones that you might want and of a similar type. And I say, yeah, that's actually correct. So I'm going to go ahead and add them all using intelligence. And now I have a basic math quiz here. Before we go further, I want to make it look nicer. So I'm going to go ahead and just go up here to themes. Sometimes you also get theme suggestions. And so I'm just going to switch it to this one. This one looks cool to me. You can organize your form and quiz into sections. You can think of those as pages, and that's pretty simple. You just go add new, put in section, and this gives me a second page here. And I'm going to do something like, advanced math questions. And imagine I had other advanced math questions here. And what I'm going to do with this, and let's make this one, I'll leave that one worth 0 points. So now I want to show you something called branching. And branching is really great for personalized or customized learning. And I could do something like this, for example. I can do add branching, and I could say, hey, if students get this question 4 correct, and maybe this is like the most advanced one that I've put on this quiz, I could say, I'm gonna send them to section 2, advanced math questions. But for everyone who gets it wrong, I'm just gonna send them to the end of the form. And so there'll be a few students that hopefully get this one right, and then they'll get sent to this advanced math questions, and then you could go in after the fact and give those students extra credit if you want. Or maybe it's just extra practice for some students that are already ahead. So you can be, a lot more clever with this, but branching really lets you add some personalization and customized learning to your quiz. So this quiz is pretty much ready for me, but let's go ahead and tweak some settings here. So it's really easy on Forms. You just go ... You do settings, and you can configure some stuff here. Maybe I want the form to be open in a specific time range. I could do a start date and end date. I could even do it down to the minute if I want, 10:16 here. That will make sure the form is, only open during that time range. But I don't actually want to do that for mine. That's just example. You could turn on a progress bar so that when people are going through it, they could see how many pages are actually in the form. This is one of the new ones down here that I mentioned, receipt of responses after submission. In the past, we had this functionality, but only for forms that are what's called in org or internal. When responders would reply, they would get like an email receipt. And that still exists, but now if you have an anonymous form, people can also download a PDF copy. So I'll go ahead and check that, and I'll show that to you. Now, we've heard from a lot of educators that you need a paper copy. Maybe there's students that, can't use computer, they're going on vacation, you're in a place with no internet, you need a copy for archive purposes, whatever it is. It's very easy now to print a blank form or quiz. So you just go up there and choose print, and you get a nice paper copy here that you can hand out. So cancel that and go back. All right, so now I'm ready to distribute this thing. So as I mentioned, we're going to be doing some work to make sending to collect responses a little bit separate from the collaboration functionality. Now, if I go in here, there is a new option. So in the past, you had these two. Anyone can respond, and you could send it, even to people outside your school, or only people inside your school. We added a third option called specific users or specific people in my organization. And there you can put in specific names or groups, and only they will be able to open this form and respond to it. So if you only want like 2 students to be able to respond to this thing, you put those 2 students' name in there. They'll be able to open it, but if they try to share it with their friends, for example, it's not going to work. So let me go ahead and flip this back. So you can see another great thing here, shorten URL. So here's what the URL used to look like. And I'll actually do it in Notepad so you can see them side by side. But if you want to distribute this thing and you want to make it a little bit shorter, you go ahead and press shorten URL, and you have one that now looks like this. So you can compare them. You know, this one obviously much smaller. You can ignore this int thing here. This is because I'm on an internal environment. Yours won't have that. But you can just see how much shorter this actually is. And so this is great if you want to distribute this or put this on a poster or at the beginning of a PowerPoint that people need to type in. Just makes it a lot easier to deal with. Let me go ahead and, yep, I'll keep this one as anyone can respond. And let's go into response mode so I can show you two other features. So as I mentioned, we've spent some time putting Immersive Reader everywhere. And Immersive Reader is great, especially in education. And so if you are on an education tenant, the Immersive Reader will be enabled by default, so these little speaker icons will show up. If you don't see it, or if you're sending out an anonymous survey, it's very easy. It's in this ... You can enable it or disable it from there. And the Immersive Reader is an amazing tool for anyone that has any sort of reading disability. So you can press this, you can jump in here, and Immersive Reader can actually read this out loud. I'm on a headset, so you won't be able to hear it, but it can be read out loud for students that can't read that well. They can change the speed of the voice, male or female. Maybe students just need text to be bigger, or certain grammar to be highlighted. There's also reading focus. If someone has any sort of focus issues, this can highlight one row at a time, and you could configure this. So really, really powerful tool for great accessibility. That's now available on all forms, anonymous or not. And as mentioned, even though I'm anonymous here, I could go ahead and submit. And even though it was anonymous form, I can go ahead and print a copy of my response. And so press that, and again, it'll launch in here. I don't actually have a printer, so I would just go ahead and save it to PDF. All right. So flipping back over here. Let me check back over to Teams, see if any hands were raised. Any questions on items in that demo before I move forward?
John, just compliments that I saw in the chat pane saying how fantastic some of these features are. Just general comments. Does anyone have any specific questions before
Yes,
John moves on? Yes, go ahead.
Hi, I am Isolina from Leicestershire Adult Learning Service. We have the corporate version of Teams and the education version of Teams. I don't know if our version will allow for some of these features to appear. Are they all available? I mean, I know it's forms, but if we use forms in Teams, I mean, all the features from these forms will be available, or it will depend on which application you want to integrate it with?
No, so all the features that I just showed would be available. However, if you do not have the EDU version of Teams, then the thing you're going to be missing is Teams assignments, which was the thing I showed the screenshots for earlier on. But the features within Forms itself, in terms of all the features on a form and all the features on a quiz, you should be able to get to those.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Jed, do you want to come on the mic and ask your question? He's saying that he's got font size is still an issue for me. Although the font size,
sure.
Yeah, go ahead. Yes.
No, my previous meeting was on equality, and the font size is a minimum requirement. Isn't something that I can affect using the forms. But I have a second, more technical question, which is with regard to refreshing your browser during a quiz, losing all data, and whether or not that's an issue that is scheduled to be addressed.
Yes, that is a great piece of feedback. That is what we call save and resume, and that is something that we are actively discussing on the team and that we hope to address in a future iteration of the product. So can't give an ETA quite yet, but look for some more information coming in the future. However, while I have you here, I was curious about that first point you mentioned in terms of font size. So the new feature that we introduced, or that's rolling out here soon, that does let you control your font size, at least with a few levels. Does that solve the issue that you have, or you need something more advanced than that?
I'm looking at you on a very small screen and didn't see that you can actually increase and decrease the fonts at all. So that it increases the font size is excellent. What would be useful then would be to be able to then set it as a default setting across all forms so that there isn't the need to tell people to increase the font size on everything they do every single time.
Yep, that's a great point. So if you see in this screenshot here, like the third bullet, the text in the third bullet is bigger, at least slightly than the other ones. However, that point about setting it as a default, that's a great piece of feedback. I will capture that and bring that back to the team. Yeah,
those were some really good points. Stephen's got his hand up, so please do get off the mic. But before you get on the mic, could I ask, because someone else has asked this question, I'm really interested in the answer to this. Will fill in the blanks be a question type in the future?
So maybe is the answer on that one. That's not something that's going to be coming short term, but it is something that we will probably discuss down the road. So one thing that we do recommend people use is the text-based question. I've also seen people do it with multiple choice. They type the sentence, they put a manual blank using underscores, and then use multiple choice to say fill in the blank with the correct choice. Or in a text question, they say, type what would be in that blank. So it's not perfect because it doesn't go in that same spot on the screen, but that's the way that I've seen people work around it in the short term. But I will capture a note and bring that back to the team because it's a great ask.
Yes, please, because it's just so easy just to copy a paragraph and paste it and just click on the words that you want blank, and then that's it. You've got a great question there for students. Yep, Stephen, you got your hand up?
Yeah, when you're in the response view, you can print each response individually as a PDF. Now, is there going to be a tool to print all of them at once as a PDF? Just because, whilst I can use the Excel spreadsheet and understand it, sometimes the data collected is going to governors or going to execs who would actually benefit more from that nice PDF view.
Are you looking for basically one button that would print all of them separately, or you want to basically merge them into a PDF?
Either or.
Okay. That's something that isn't on our roadmap yet. But I'd say I'll bring that back to the team. I think we would probably want to look into some more printing functionality down the road, especially if we get more asks in the printing area.
Yeah. And on the fill in the blanks one, you can get fill in the blanks to work using forms, but you need to go into the automate side of things for it.
Okay, Stephen, thank you. You're going to deliver a webinar on that then for us, are you?
If I have to, Ethan.
If you have to, thank you. We got two more people who've got their hands up. Jennifer first, and then Frank. Jennifer.
Thank you very much. John, could I possibly ask, will MS Forms at any point have a click and drag and click option for questions?
For which, I need a little bit more detail on that one. For which type of questions? Like drag and drop for what?
The sort of match options for questions where you're matching one side with the options on another side.
Yeah, I know currently the only drag functionalities that we support is when you want to reorder questions, so that's something completely separate, or in the ranking question, we do support dragging them up and down. But in terms of a matching side-by-side question type, that's another one that's not on the roadmap yet, but is something we do hear more in the education space. And so as we get further and further into more education features, I think that's something we'll probably consider.
Thank you.
Oops, someone's got their mic, a hot mic. If you could just mute yourselves, and I can second that. That would be a lovely option with the matching, John. Hey, definitely. Frank, go ahead.
Hi there. My question was very similar to Jennifer's. We'd like to do a drag and drop option where we could say drag a picture into a box. Underneath might be a description of what that picture is. We can do that in HTML5, but we can't seem to do that in Forms. So it's pretty much the same question as Jennifer, I think.
Sorry, John, you're on mute. I'm going to unmute you because someone muted everyone because of the noise. So just you cannot.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
Thank you.
Sorry. So yeah, I was just saying that is some great feedback. And yes, since I'm hearing a lot of asks about especially images, matching things to images. One thing that we are planning to work on, probably shorter term, that we hear very, very commonly is what's called image as an answer choice. So trying to see if we can do any images within the multiple choice questions. So I wish I could see the chat here because I wanted to know if image as an answer choice is something that's useful to you or needed by you. But if you want to type that in the chat and somebody relay it to me, that would be fantastic. And I see Frank still has his hand up. Frank, did you have another question?
Just didn't take my hand down. I'll
okay.
Yeah.
I'll get rid of it now.
No worries.
I mean, John, yeah, it goes without saying everyone I think would find that very useful. Absolutely.
All right.
The more question types, the better as educators, absolutely.
Excellent. Good to hear. So let me briefly go through these final few slides and then go back to some more questions and feature asks. So, for this, we want to talk a little bit about the 2 new scenarios that we're working on right now. We actually call these hero scenarios. And the vast majority of this has been already announced publicly on our public roadmap, if any of you look at that. But on some of them, we're not ready to share any screenshots, besides the ones that have already been posted on the roadmap as well. So the first one's a bit newer to the Forms team in terms of our focus, but we heard it from a lot of educators during this time period, during the pandemic, when people had to switch to remote learning or hybrid learning. So we heard that it's hard to keep students engaged. And so this first scenario is really all about Forms and Teams meetings to keep students engaged. And the second one was the more traditional use case of Forms. It focuses on assessment, whether you're doing them standalone or within Teams assignments. We want to make sure we give you the features you need in both places to reduce friction and make sure we save you some more time. So for Engaged Classroom, we heard some interesting things from educators. Some people told us they don't even know when they're delivering their lessons if the student's actually on the other side of the monitor. Is the student still paying attention? Did they fall asleep? Are they on a separate tab playing a game? And especially in higher education or further education, where students a lot of times they're paying for their education or they need this education for a job. The teacher really wants to know if the students understand this material before moving on to the next topic. And so that's something we really wanted to focus on. And so we're working on an easy way for you to do a real-time knowledge check during your remote classrooms. Now, I hope some of you recognize this. This is something that we've already released a few months ago. So it's called Poll and Teams Meetings. And it's very easy before your meeting starts. You can go in, there's a little I guess my mouse won't show on that screen. There's a polls tab. You can see it's the rightmost tab on that left screenshot. And you can create these polls before the class starts. And then during class, you can see on the right-hand side screenshot, you can basically launch these directly in people's faces. And so it really improves engagement and keeps people paying attention and lets you know what people are thinking before you move on to the next slide or the next topic. Now, what we want to do is make that a lot more friendly for you as educators. So as I mentioned, channel meeting support for this will be coming soon in the next few months because we realize a lot of you use channel meetings in education space. But those ones that have been released are really what we call multiple choice polls. They don't have the concept of a correct answer like a quiz does. And so we're going to be introducing what we call multiple choice quiz, which is a multiple choice question with a correct answer choice. So that way, again, it will still pop up in front of people's faces, but there's actually a right or wrong answer. So you as an educator can also see in real time how people are doing and decide if you want to reteach some of that material before you move forward. We're adding more intelligence, so I'm glad a lot of you really like the intelligence on the form site, because we're bringing a lot of that into these polls, making sure we can recommend polls based on your class, based on polls you frequently use, recommend options, just make it really easy to create useful polls and quizzes and engage your class. Right now, you can only do multiple choice polls, but we will be introducing open text questions pretty soon. And then for those of you that are using them, it's one thing to use them and in real time make decisions based on the data, but then when the class ends and all the students drop off, you might want to dig into the results and make some bigger changes for tomorrow or next week's lesson. So we are working on an intelligent, an insights, basically after class report. So you'll be able to see all the aggregated data for all the polls and quizzes that you launched and really decide if you need to make any changes going forward. Just an FYI, there will be some nice blogs coming out soon, so keep a lookout for some education blogs, and that will have some more details and screenshots on some of these great things I just mentioned. So this one's going to be hard as well because I'm not in the chat, but I'll ask you again to relay it. So I wanted to know if people are already using poll and Teams meetings, and if so, what you think about them, and if not, like we're really looking to understand what we need to do to improve them to make them more useful to you. And yeah, you can type a few things in the chat. I won't be able to see it, but I also encourage you to hold them for a few more minutes. We'll be giving you a survey link where you can give your feedback directly to us. So I'll skip past this one.
Yeah, John, it's as you've mentioned, it's the channel meetings, because they're not available in channel meetings just yet. I don't think you're going to get that many educators use it. So what I do is in my channel meeting, so I'll leave this window, and go into the main window, and I can do the app forms, and that it works that way. But it's not the same experience as the one you mentioned where it's, it's forced on everyone's. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the one you're mentioning sort of leaves it in the chat experience. And so pretty cool, still engages people if they notice and click over to the chat. But the really cool one is where you can push it in people's face.
Exactly,
yeah. You'll see it in real time. So
yeah,
good to know. Another +1 for channel meetings.
And,
oh,
definitely.
We're working with that team.
Yeah. Is there an ETA on that?
Hard to give an exact. I want to say it's within a few months. We are working with the partner team within the team's organization to light this stuff up. But we do know that it is necessary, and we'll keep bringing the feedback over to them.
Okay, thank you.
And then for effective assessment, as I mentioned, this is really the traditional scenario around quizzes or exams. Just saving you time, make sure you can create the quizzes that you need to, whether you're doing them standalone or in Teams assignments. And let me show you one of the new things we're going to be introducing very soon for assignments. Let me find my correct browser. Here we go. All right, so in this, I'm in an education demo tenant here. And for those of you that are familiar with assignments, it's this button here on the left. And it's pretty easy to create a quiz assignment. And you can pick a quiz that you've already created. So I'm going to pick biology class first. And you can pick a quiz you've already created, or there's an option to create a new quiz. Now, in the past, when you click that, this whole thing would close and it would kick you out of here to the browser where you can create your quiz. So we just want to streamline that a little bit. Now, when you click that, you're actually going to stay here directly in Teams. You can build your quiz, set your point value. I'm not going to build a whole nother demo quiz here. This thing is going to save, and then I'm still in the flow here. So I can now assign my quiz. I can pick the students who get it, distribute it as needed. So again, it's really just removing some of those steps where you had to get pushed out to the site and then come back and find it later on. And let me show you another step of this. So, you know, I have some assignments that are already distributed here. So let me open this one called Mammals Quiz. Now we hear from a lot of educators that, you know, after you've distributed an assignment, you want to come back and make an edit to the quiz. Maybe you realize you made a typo or you selected something wrong in a question. And the challenge is that the quiz that you picked to create this assignment is not the one that you need to edit. The one that you need to edit is what's considered a group quiz, which is in the class group. And so we've decided to make this a little bit more straightforward as well. So when you go into the assignment editor, like in the past, you couldn't do this. You couldn't click on this to edit the quiz, but now you can. So it's easy just clicking on the quiz name. And this will open the correct quiz, the one that's actually distributed to students. And you can go ahead and, you know, make your edits right here. This thing will save, and now it's published live out to the students. And so again, you no longer will have to go to the forms website separately and hunt down the correct quiz and hope that you are updating the right one. You can just do it all here directly in Teams. And here we go. So the in-frame, that's what we call in-frame creation editing of quiz assignments. That's the one I just showed. Another one I'm going to mention is timed quiz, the ability to set a duration on a quiz. That way, maybe you only want students to have 30 minutes. Doesn't matter if one student starts today, one starts tomorrow. Regardless of when you start, you get 30 minutes to respond. And then when you're out of time, it's as far as you can go. You could submit as much as you finished, but you can't go any further. So very similar to the in-person scenario where you pass out a paper, and then when 30 minutes runs up, you say, all right, stop, turn in your quiz. So we're trying to give you that functionality so you have a bit more flexibility in your online quizzes. And more coming soon. So as I mentioned, keep a lookout for some upcoming blogs where we'll be sharing more information. All right, so now we're going to pause here for some more Q&A. And one thing I really encourage people to do is scan this QR code or go to this link. And I'm sorry we can't put it in the chat. So if
you email me that link, John, and then
maybe.
I'll paste it in there.
Okay, let me do that real quick. That way people can do this while we're here. Let me shrink this real quick and copy it. And flip over to this tenant. Oh, I can't flip over to the other tenant though, without getting kicked out of this thing.
Oh, sorry, John. If you just email it, I'll copy and paste it.
Okay. I'm doing that right now. There you are. Okay, bear with me, everyone. All right. I just sent it to you. It was at that info@transform education one.
Yep, that's the one.
All right. So that is sent to you. And let me put this back up. Yeah, because what I wanted to say is, you know, as I mentioned at the beginning of the call is, you know, really we depend on your feedback to determine what to do next. So, you know, a lot of you have already asked questions, and so I've been jotting those down as we go. We're going to bring that back to the team and actually discuss what features to add next to forms. And I'd say the further education or higher education space is a bit newer to us. We've spent a lot of time in the past focusing more on K through 12. And so going forward, we really want to better understand, you know, your guys' scenarios a bit better. And so this is just a small survey. It should only take you about 5 minutes, but it'll help us understand like your needs for the product. And also there is an optional question at the end for you to provide your email. And if you do that, then we'll be able to reach out to you and engage with you to dig into your specific scenarios, as well as ask you for some more feedback as we go forward and work on some of the features that you ask for. So please do. I encourage everyone to fill this out. That would be great. So now we're just going to sit here. I think we have about 10 more minutes. And so I would love to hear some additional questions. And for other folks from the forms team, since you couldn't do the chat, I think I will go on mute. And if you guys want to unmute and respond to some of the incoming questions, that would be fantastic. So please raise your hand or type in the chat, and Isam will read it out.
Okay, who's that? Elizabeth.
Hello.
Please. Hi.
Hi, thank you for today. I can't see the chat again. I had a question. I did ask Stephen on Twitter yesterday, but I just thought I'd ask you as well. So would it be possible to put a drop-down list of emails into a form, so when someone started typing, correct email address came up?
Oh, you're on mute. Sorry, John.
Oh, I'm back. All right. I said I heard a bit of an echo. Can you repeat that last sentence? You said when they click into the drop down, what did you want them to see?
Oh, so I've got a form that I use for giving feedback to staff, and they have to put in the staff member's email address, so it gets sent out to them. Would it be possible to have is there any way of embedding that list of emails into that form so that when they start typing, the correct email address is, and we get less errors in the flow?
So I think, John, when you add members to a team, it comes from Active Directory. So I think maybe that's the request here.
Yeah.
Any other forms folks? Any other forms folks want to jump in here? Ask any questions or respond? Kathy, Wenjin, Jonas, Jinxiao? Are they able to unmute themselves, or we have to unmute them?
No, I think everyone can unmute themselves.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I got myself unmute.
Oh, there you go.
I don't really have specific questions, but just want to know if just want to take this opportunity to thank you for allowing us to talk to a large number of teachers here. I do want to also express a little bit like aspiration from our side. Forms has been like truly loved by many teachers, we feel extremely lucky and fortunate. And thank you for your support for team. And looking forward for iPad 22, we actually want to do more in EDU space. And with this continued changing environment, we've been heard quite a bit from teachers of how schools are still struggling about different tools and resetting their strategy and trying to make sure the online teaching will be same effective as offline teaching. And some of you also are in the combination of the state, right, which is even more challenged. So the survey we put out here is actually helping us to better understand how we can help you to make sure everything we invest from in the product will benefit the end user ultimately. And also in this meeting, is any of you wanted to speak out, your challenge, you wish how form can help you, or you imagination of how forms can be even better to serve you or students or parents, right? And we are more than happy to hear those kind of voices as well.
Thank you very much, Kathy. On behalf of the community, I just want to say thank you again for giving us your time and the work that you're doing on this fantastic product, because it really is a fantastic product, and it's one of the lowest hanging fruits in the Microsoft 365 tree. And it's like you can have immediate impact. And as I said, it has the potential to really reduce workload. So thank you, actually, Kathy, and your team.
Wow. I'm so deeply touched by what you just said.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It goes without saying. It's a fantastic product. It really is, and it's so easy to use. You know, even the teachers that aren't very confident in using technology, you know, you show it to them and they can adopt it within about 20 minutes of some training, and that's what makes it a great product. You know, and the point of technology that I keep telling teachers is, you know, what's the point of it if it's not meant to make your lives easier and better? And Microsoft Forms does that. So we had the question from David. He doesn't have a mic. He's saying that when are we getting the ability to add web links to forms? I'm not sure if that's already there, but that's a question there.
Ooh, so I guess I would probably need a little bit more information on that one. Let me jump back real quick. So regarding the auto-populated drop-downs, that's a great piece of feedback. I'll capture that. Currently, we only support that in the distribution fields, like when you type in who's supposed to respond to the survey. We do not have the hookup into Active Directory to auto-populate a drop-down box. But I think that's a really good point. So I'll bring that back to the team. Regarding web links, so you can put a link in Forms today, and we will what's called linkify it so that it becomes a clickable link. Are you referring to doing sort of like what you can do in Word or in Outlook, where you can change the text of the link separately from the link behind it to make the link look a little bit more friendly? Is that what you're referring to when you say?
Yes, that's what he says. Yes, John.
Okay. That is something that we are considering. As you can see, we are doing text formatting first to allow you to customize some text. That falls in that sort of same realm and is something we may consider going forward, but I do not have a specific date on that one.
Excellent. Okay, yeah, so Steve's got his hand up, and then Kay. Steve, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Isa. Firstly, again, it's been a great presentation, so thank you for that and all the team's hard work. I will say as well, ESAM's been delivering some fantastic sessions for us at South Staffs College on Teams and Forms. And what I will say is, from the feedback from staff and the adoption we've seen, Forms has come on so well. It's been easily adopted by a lot of staff. They all love it and they've really embraced it. So it's a simple, concise, great product, and I really wanted to share that with you because we've seen some great adoption at the college. And one other thing, again, I've just filled in the form, but one of the things I'd like to see is when we go into the responses, from my perspective, bear with me 1 second, my phone's another thing. It's gone. One of the things that, from my perspective, I have to pull out a lot of reports for governors and heads of curriculum. And what is beautiful in Forms is the graphical responses that we see as a summary and an overview. But to get those, what I'm ended up having to do is do a print screen or screen snip to get them out. And what I'd like to see is when we export it, whether we can get a spreadsheet export that has these graphical interfaces on a separate tab.
Great piece of feedback, and that goes directly to Wenjin, who is responsible for that area. So Wenjin, I think another +1 for a nice export with all the summary graphs.
Thank you.
Yeah, that is a really good idea, Steve, because we do want to share those results and graphs with other folks. And you're right, we have to take a print screen or something to do that now.
Thank you.
So to double confirm the feedback and ask, are you expecting to include those charts in the spreadsheet, or you're expecting to have a way to print those charts?
More to have it actually in the spreadsheet when we download it. That would be great to see them all in there as a separate tab, so it's all in one Excel that we download, and we can just copy and paste relevant parts out of there and tweak them accordingly.
I see. Good feedback. We'll take that into consideration. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Who was next? We had Kay.
Hi there.
Hello.
Is there an easy way of changing a form to a quiz?
That's a hard question. There unfortunately is not. Currently, there's no way to go between form and quiz, and so we are like that. That is also why we made the change up front to give you the new quiz option first as the default in education, to try to send you down the correct path at the beginning. And we'll be doing more work there to make sure the choice up front is easy, because currently and in the short and medium term, there's no way to flip back and forth between them. And so you would have to then copy paste a lot of text to flip over. So we do
Okay.
apologize for that, but that's
Thank
great
you.
feedback.
Can I ask as well, can you do closed questions, like a gap question for language learning, where you're filling in the verb or the noun or?
Oh, you mean you fill in the blank?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give another +1 to that. That one came up earlier in the call, and that one again. The answer today is no. You can sort of fake it with multiple choice and open text questions by just saying, you know, hey, what would be go in this blank? But you cannot create a native fill in the blank question. But that's something we will be considering going forward.
Okay, thanks very much.
Yeah, you got a few more pluses there, John, in the chat pane with regards to fill in the gaps and these closed questions. Yeah.
You know, I realize now that you call it differently, called fill in the gap there. I always called it fill in the blank in US.
Oh, yeah. And also, can I just add, Wenjun, can I ask you, you know, because you're responsible for the intelligence part of Microsoft Forms, is there like a blog where I can grab where, so for example, if I say, how confident are you, or how satisfied are you, is there a list of questions to trigger the auto completion?
Auto completion?
Yeah, so if I say to my students, how confident are you in completing today's task, it'll give me, you know, extremely confident and the rest. There must be like a set of things, because if I say, okay, what color is the sky, it'll fill it out. How happy are you? You know, there's certain things that will trigger this. And it'd be nice to have a list of that.
Actually, we have some common ones I can share with you. For example, how likely, how satisfied, such kind of things. But the list is actually quite long, and our machine learning model is keep improving to add more scenario into that. So I'm not sure whether you are seeing some scenarios you are expecting some suggestions, but we don't have that. If that is the case, you can share with me what you are looking for, then we can improve our model. And I can also share you some general ones we are seeing today with you by email.
Here's one. It's like, okay, please rate. So it'd be nice if it's rate. I know probably, but like 1 to 10, and it fills it out.
Oh.
You know, things like that. But what I was asking, Wenjun, if there's a list, because sometimes I have to play about it to understand, okay, how, you know, how satisfied, how confident, what color, it's these. So what if there's an available list which I have access to, then I can use those terms to trigger like a Likert list scale. Yeah.
Okay. I can try to find out to see whether we have such kind of a common list and they share with you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Also get your feedback for please read such kind of as I will get back into our team to see how we can improve the model. If you have any other examples in the future, feel free to share with me.
All right, thank you. It's an excellent feature, it really is. So we got a few more hands up. Steve, you got your hand up again?
Yeah. Yes, please. Thank you. Just a quick one. And again, this is just what's happened today, and how to resolve it, I don't know. So obviously, I seem to be the go-to person for forms because I've been delivering a lot of the training. So people come say, can you just create a form? So I'll train them up, and that's great because they'll go away, create their own forms. In an institute our size, what actually happens then, and today, I created an e-safety quiz, which somebody then took on board, adapted from my original, and then posted it out. So a tutor came back to me and said, Steve, did you create the e-safety quiz? Because there's a spelling mistake or a question wrong in here. When I went in, it was no longer my form, but I can't find out who it was who's created that form. Is there a kind of a search option that we can find the form and look at the properties to see who is the owner? Because we've had people leave and we don't know where these forms belong now. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense, and I would say it really depends on your role. And this is an area that we are going to be looking at more going forward. If you are an administrator in the tenant, then we do have some administrator functionality known as auditing or legal search. It's called e-discovery, where you could do some of this this searching to see who created a form and try to follow up with them that way. Some of them are a little bit more technical to use, but those are meant for things like that. If you're just, a standard user and you stumble upon a form, then there's no way for you to figure out who exactly it comes from. So I guess the short answer is if you're an administrator, then yes. If not, then no.
Send it over to the techies then, it's the IT department to find it out.
Exactly. Yep, and I'd say we probably need to close soon, but I'd say if we want to take one or two more, that would be would be cool.
There's one question here in the chat pane. Does the option exist for importing questions from Excel or Word?
Currently, no. And so, Wenjin, I think this is another one good for you to hear. So this is, I think we hear it fairly commonly in education space to speed up the creation time. For example, you have a bunch of questions in Word or Excel formatted in a specific way and want them imported into forms to quickly create questions. Answer today is no, but going forward, I think this is something we likely will be discussing and explore.
Okay.
It's a very, very good ask.
All right. I think that we could wrap that up now, I think, John.
Cool. So then, yes, again, please fill out this survey. I think, yeah, if you already sent out the link to folks, that's great. If you could fill it in any time in the next few weeks is totally cool. But this is going to be very, very helpful, along with the ask that you gave us today for those of you that spoke out. This is how we're going to figure out what to do next to better support further education. And so please respond. Please include your email if you don't mind additional follow-ups. And we definitely look forward to engaging with some of you more going forward. So definitely appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, John. Honestly, that was really useful. I'm really looking forward to some of these features coming. Thank you. Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you. And thank you to your team. Yeah.
Well, cool. Then with that, I think we will end it. So thanks again, everybody, and hope to hear from some more of you soon. So hope everyone has a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.